It was the kind of dark, dreary afternoon where all of the college students on campus were either in classes, counting the minutes until they got to go home, or were in the library writing paper after paper like I was. I could hear as the cold raindrops thrashed against the library's long, tall windows. My watch read 5:54 p.m. The assignment was due at 6. Despite having been in what the students referred to as the stacks, these were the higher floors of the 15-story library, which had quiet desks to study at uninterrupted. After 9 hours straight, I was finally able to submit what I had been working tirelessly on accomplishing. My bagged eyes looked through my blue blocking lenses once again down at my watch. Just in time, I thought to myself. This, I would later find out, was not only the assignment that would shoot me to the top of my class, but also have me graduate as one of the top 10 students of a department made up of 65,700. In other words, I would be in the top 0.0152% of almost 66,000 people. Now, this particular paper was a final paper for my 400 level legal philosophy class. The class was run by an eccentric professor with always messy mahogany brown hair, who was usually outfitted in an oversized tweed jacket. Now, the hair and the jacket weren't much of a compliment to her undersized glasses, which didn't really seem to fit properly on her narrow face. Regardless, this professor was sharp as a whip and was notoriously impossible to impress. Now, while this paper was probably the best one I had written in my 3 to 4 years of diligent practice, the main issue with this particular paper was the same issue that my last 20 to 30 good papers suffered from. And the issue was, the paper didn't read my name at the top. No, instead, just like the other 20 to 30 papers, it read somebody else's. In the end, it wouldn't be me that graduated in that ridiculous percentile. In fact, I wouldn't graduate at all. It would be somebody else awarded with that honor after I had written, edited, and submitted that paper like so many others on so many other dark, dreary afternoons from the stacks. Now let's back up to how we got here. At the time, I was attending Canada's most prestigious school, the University of Toronto. Called primarily UofT, students would always joke that the T used to stand for tears because of how hard students had to work to actually go there. I was an 18-year-old college freshman with dreams of becoming one of the best lawyers in the English-speaking world. A real-life Harvey Specter, I thought. Nope. I'd moved about 2,600 miles from my home in Vancouver to Canada's biggest city, all for UofT. Now, where I was headed, I knew nobody for about 2,000 miles. But this would be totally worth it because in a few short years, I'd be crushing big-time villains in my 3-piece pinstripe. And on top of all that, I would be the talk of the big city, Toronto. I got to my dorm on the first day touching down in Toronto, and things immediately seemed really, really good. The dorm was actually really cool because it was previously a Hilton hotel that the school had purchased and turned into a dorm for about 2,000 college kids. Cool vibes, social interactions, and girls. Indeed, there were girls. Alas, Spencer was starting a new chapter in his young life, and he was one step closer to that sweet pinstripe suit. A couple weeks went by, I attended some frosh parties, I got to know people in the dorm, I made new friends. I had a super chill roommate other than his compulsive need to randomly sing Tina Turner songs at any time of the morning. But yeah, things were great. And then it happened. I met her. We're gonna call her Jane. Jane was an ambitious, beautiful young woman who had long chestnut hair. On top of that, she had the kind of athletic body that comes from only years of formal dance training. And just like me, she had massive dreams of what she was going to do when she left college, and she was certainly outspoken about it. Wow, I thought. I had to make her my girlfriend. Slowly making my way into the dorm's social circle that she found herself a part of, after a matter of weeks, I succeeded. I was part of the group and I was ready to make my move. The time came. With a hope, a dream, and a gulp, I succeeded there too. Jane was now my beautiful, smart, ambitious college girlfriend, just like in the movies. Now going forward, Jane and I were basically inseparable and pretty much just came as a package deal. We took lots of the same courses and we basically sat together for every meal that we ate. One day though, Jane had procrastinated writing a really important paper that was weighted extremely heavily by the professor. She of course began to tell me about how anxious she was that she wasn't going to get a good grade because of how long she had left actually writing the paper. Me, being a nice guy and having already finished mine, suggested that I would write the paper for her. This, as it turns out, would be the single worst decision of my college career. But anyway, both of our papers were turned in and we were now waiting for the results. I had written both papers and they both came back with great marks. I got an 88%, very high for our department. She received an 89%, nice. I was definitely getting laid, I snidely thought to myself. And I did. Being nice. It worked and it was awesome, right? Wrong. Now, being the super sleuth detective that I was, I started to pick up on a very strange pattern. Whenever a big paper would suddenly start to come around for Jane, she would now begin to get anxious. Naturally, her sex drive would drop, and to remedy things, I would suggest to write the whole thing for her in hopes of getting lucky. But rapidly, this became the norm and sex quickly became transactional. It was an equation. See, if I wanted to have sex, I would need to write a paper that she conveniently procrastinated to a point of anxiety. After that, I would get some. However, soon enough, doing the bulk of her assignments was no longer a remedy to her low sex drive or anxiety. Was she building a resistance to the medicine? Was nice no longer sexy? Hold on. Don't attractive young women get weak at the knees for nice guys? I didn't understand, but time would go on and I would do Jane's assignments. One day I figured to myself, maybe if I can break her into the 90s on her assignments, her mojo will come back. So that was my new target. Classified mission, get Jane 90s. And I did, but it came at a price. For every single percentage point that I would raise Jane, my own would drop by 5 to 15%. In the same classes, Jane would get 91, I would get 77. Jane would get 93, I would get 64. Jane would get 97, I would get 51. In one class, Jane would receive the elusive 100% perfect score. And you know what I got? A recommendation letter that I seek counseling with the registrar's office because I may no longer be eligible to remain in my program. Yeah. This would go on for years, and sex would eventually disappear completely. Anxiety would be ever present, and I got nicer and nicer and nicer. Like I mentioned, eventually, Jane would graduate as top 10 students out of 66,000. Not 10%, top 10 students. And me, I would burn out and eventually drop out of college altogether. No formal degree, but a PhD in how to be nice. Now sure, I can't frame that in mahogany or oak, but what I will tell you is that experience is burned into my memory forever. Now fast forward a little bit and surprise, surprise, after Jane's graduation, we would eventually go our separate ways. It's been years since I've actually spoken to Jane, but from what I know, she does work in the legal field now, and she's probably wearing a 3-piece pinstripe suit. As you probably know from my other videos, in the end, things ended up pretty damn good for me, and I'm not complaining. But this is because I had to learn that being a nice guy does not get you to your dreams. Now, I don't blame Jane for any of the things that happened, and neither should you. She was a beautiful, ambitious young woman whose opportunism saw a resource present itself, and she was very resourceful. I gotta give it to her. You gotta respect the game, I guess. All of this said, here's what you need to take away. I am not telling you to go and be an asshole. What I am telling you, though, is that nice guys are people who help other people, sometimes, usually, to their own detriment. And that last part is the main problem, to their own detriment. If you're a young, ambitious person, you need to put yourself first so that you can become the thing that you want to become. Nobody is going to come and give it to you or hand it to you. The only people who might are, as in Jane's case, nice guys. Now look, if you're a young man, you might be in college or trying to start a business, grinding on your fitness goals, or just looking to have better experiences with women. Either way, to save you some time and tell you what you need to know, in about 10 seconds, I'm going to put a video up on your screen that's going to show you exactly how to maximize your potential. So make sure you stick around for that. Now, thank you so much for watching. My name is Spencer with Must Become. Always remember that your potential is your obligation, and so what you can become, you must become.